Okay, this video is to help catch you up with what happened today. It's been kind of a blur. So the first thing we did was to go and look for data on Costa Rica. It does help sometimes just to search for what you're looking for. And when you're looking for data, you don't always find exactly what you want, but this is pretty close. Click on it and see what you can do. Now, we go looking around, we can find, my screen may look different from yours. I've shrunk my browser to fit within the screencast. So during class, you look to the right. I'm looking underneath now. Now it's GDP per capita. Some of you might have ended up with a different set of words here. You might have gotten $2010 or something else. Whenever you track some sort of money statistic over time, you can't use the currency in 1980 to compare to the currency in 2008. It's not worth the same. So usually in the title you'll see something like current US or US $2010, and then all the data points have been adjusted for inflation so that you're comparing apples with apples as opposed to apples with walruses or some other weird thing. So let's go ahead and download this data, and you can download anything. We'll download Excel. I don't have Excel on this particular computer, but that's fine because I'm going to upload it right into Sheets. So I'm going to import. At any point in this, too, if you're not sure if I'm going too fast or whatnot, remember you can pause the video and work yourself through it. Grab the file. So now it's going to upload. I like to have it insert sheets as opposed to creating a new spreadsheet. Now it's a bit more than we bargained for, because instead of giving us just the data from Costa Rica, it's going to give us the data of every country in the world. Oh, that's fine though. What we're going to do is we'll take row 4 here. We're going to copy that. I'm going to go to sheet 1, which is blank, and let's rename that something handy, like Costa Rica every 5. It's not every 5 yet, but it's going to be. So I'll paste that row. I'm going to keep the words for the moment. I go back to the data. Now, I want to find the row that corresponds to Costa Rica. So let's see. Yep, here we are. It's row 50. So I click on the 50, it selects the row, I copy it, I go back to the other tab, I paste it, and now I don't need this word stuff anymore, so I'll get rid of that. I do want these numbers, but I don't want them sideways. This is a bit of a pain. So I select all of them. I don't actually care about 2016, there's no data for that. I'm going to cut. Go back to the beginning. I'm going to paste special, so this is a control click if you're on a Mac, or it's a right click if you're on a PC. And I'm going to paste special, and I want to paste transpose. This flips the data around. Now I don't actually care about any of this data anymore, so let's get rid of it. It's distracting. Now, my annoying instructor has asked me to plot every 5 years instead of every year. Oh, that's a pain. So here's a hack for getting that. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, notice that the 1 falls in the 1960, and then the next 1 falls in 1965. Now I don't want to keep typing this over and over and over again, so instead I'll just copy these 10, and I'll just run around and paste this. And not the most elegant way. I have looked up fancier ways of doing this, but they're more work than they're worth. So, okay, I've got everything numbered. So now what I can do, if I hover on the header or the title of column C, there's this little pull-down menu, and I can sort the entire sheet by this one column. So I do that. Notice how I now have 1960, 65, 70, 75, and so on. I have all the ones up here. I no longer care about this column. So I'm not going to copy it. I do want these two columns. And these two columns will allow me to make a chart. Let's see, chart types. I'm going to go with a line diagram, for example. And it'll do a customization. And we might put something like, nice title here, Costa Rica, GDP per capita, 1960 to 2015, current dollars. Now let's go down to, let's see here, might make it a little smaller so it all fits. There we go. And we're going to the horizontal axis. This is years. And you can do, oh, this is kind of neat. Some slant levers there. That looks pretty spiffy. And let's see, now I can go to the vertical axis. This is GDP per capita in current US dollars. So that's fine. That's pretty good. So I think this is all I asked you to do for this part. So let's insert. Now I have this spiffy graph here. I also asked you in your exploration to have a copy of this graph. So we can insert chart from sheets. And let's see, we were just working on this one, so we'll select it. And this is the chart I want. The nice thing about importing it in this fashion is if I did something over here, I say, oh, actually, geez, I've decided I want to change my title a little bit. You know, current, I should have put maybe current US dollars or some such thing. I've made a change. If I go back to my doc, there's a little update. If I click update, it changes it for me, so that I don't have to go through the process of inserting. It's not a big deal for little stuff, but it can certainly be a pain. Now, the next thing to do is to go over to Desmos. Whoops. Not Spotlight Cinemas. Oh, that's fun. And I've got an account here, and you should too. You can use your Google credentials. So I sign in. I just sign in on my Google account. I have more than one. And now I can make a graph. All right, I'm going to label this graph. You can label it any number of things. Maybe you want to label it Exploration 12B. So you can do that. If I go back to my spreadsheet and I take this data, can't tell if it's still selected, and I copy it, and I go just in one of these empty spots, I can just paste it. And here's my data. Now, of course, it's all kind of smushed. If you have an axis that's 0 to 2000, my years only range over 55 units. It's a small spread. So I should change that. It doesn't make sense to start at -4 or 5. Let's start at, say, I don't know, -1955. Let's go to 2020. And let's label it. Let's label it years. The y-axis is GDP per capita in current US dollars. Let's change the axis. 0. And I think this is not too bad. Let's take a look to see if we should change that. The largest value we have in our data is about 11,000. Now this stuff here is in the way of seeing what's going on. So I'm actually going to maybe adjust out a bit, just so I can see all my data. So that's a little better. So now I have my data displayed, and I can do things like click and hold. I'm clicking just once and holding, and I can select connect the dots. Also, be sure to save periodically. It doesn't do it automatically. If you want to open up previous graphs, you've got lots of other. It'll list it right here. So let's close that. So then I can use my graph here to kind of estimate values in between. So that's something handy. I asked you to do that. And then what else do I ask you? I don't go too far here because this is only meant to catch you up to where we were before. If I want to add an expression, then this is where we can make a model, a linear model. So using the subscripts tells Desmos that I want it to make something like a line out of the data that I have. So this is the best fit line for this data. Now, it may not look very good, but I mean, if you look at the data doesn't look like it's on a straight line anyway. So the best fit line isn't necessarily a good model, but it's the best line that you could fit to the data. So this will give you the slope and the y-intercept, which you ought to be able to interpret. Right? This will have units. This will have units. And you can give some interpretation to what these things mean. Think about this weird number. GDP per capita can't be negative, incidentally. So what is this? What does this thing mean? This is a good thing to think about and discuss in your exploration. As far as getting these graphs out, I forget when I ask you to do it. We have a couple options. If you want to get an image, it exports it out here. It gives you a URL. You can copy it. If you go back to exploration, then you can insert image by URL, and then you place the image there, and it'll give you your graph, which is pretty cool. So now you have a couple of graphs in here. And you can start talking about where you got your data and these kind of things. Okay, hopefully this was helpful.